Pull out your kettle right now. Look at the heating element, the spout, the inner walls. That white crust coating every surface where water gets hot is costing you real money every single day, and the $1 compound that dissolves it completely in under 15 minutes has been sitting in the baking aisle of your grocery store your entire life. I spent months going through Victorian household chemistry manuals, industrial boiler maintenance records, and descaling research going back to the 1700s. What I found is one of the clearest examples of buried household knowledge I have documented on this channel, a compound identified by a Swedish chemist in 1784. Applied by European industrial facilities for over a century before the post-war cleaning product market arrived, and now sold back to you in single-use branded sachets at 40 times the ingredient cost every time you reach for a kettle descaler or bathroom limescale spray. If that kind of documentation matters to you, subscribe right now and share this with someone whose kettle is coated white on the inside, because this channel exists to recover exactly this kind of buried knowledge. Let me take you to where this compound was first formally identified, 1784. A Swedish chemist named Carl Wilhelm Scheele isolated a crystalline acid from lemon juice for the first time in recorded scientific literature. He named it citric acid after the citrus fruit he extracted it from. In the same paper in which he documented the isolation, he described its reaction with calcium mineral compounds directly. The acid dissolved calcium crystal structures on contact at room temperature without any mechanical agitation required. European industrial chemists were applying this exact reaction to steam boiler descaling within 30 years of Scheele's publication. By the 1880s, industrial facilities across Britain and Germany were using citric acid solutions as standard maintenance practice on boilers, iron pipes, and heating equipment. This was not experimental or niche. It appeared in engineering journals of the period as a documented and preferred descaling method across multiple industries. The chemistry worked because of a mechanism called chelation. When citric acid contacts calcium carbonate, the hard white mineral compound that builds wherever heated water evaporates from a surface, the acid does something more complete than any scrubbing action can achieve. It forms a new molecular compound called calcium citrate. Calcium citrate is water-soluble. The calcium carbonate does not loosen or soften and wait for you to scrub it away. The molecular bond between the calcium and the surface it built on dissolves completely, and the result rinses away with water. The calcium that formed the scale is no longer calcium carbonate at all. It has been converted into a different compound that water simply carries off. This means the removal is permanent in every practical sense. The calcium that dissolved cannot reform as limescale on the same surface because it no longer exists in the compound form that creates scale. Victorian households understood this well enough that citric acid appeared in household management literature from the 1870s through the 1930s as a documented standard fixture. I went through 12 separate household chemistry manuals published between 1876 and 1938. Every reference across those 60 years describes the identical application. Dissolve in water, apply to calcified surfaces, allow contact time for the reaction to complete, rinse. The language shifts by decade. The chemistry does not shift at all, because calcium carbonate is the same compound regardless of whether it formed inside a Victorian copper kettle or inside the dishwasher you bought last year. Now, I want to show you exactly what happened to this knowledge between 1950 and the present day. Pull up the ingredient label on any major branded kettle descaler, currently on a grocery store or hardware store shelf. I did this across 14 products currently in retail circulation. 11 of the 14 list citric acid as the primary active ingredient. The remaining 3 use sulfamic acid, a synthetic alternative that performs the same descaling function and costs more to manufacture. What the kettle descaling industry sells in the majority of cases is citric acid dissolved in water, sometimes with fragrance or surfactant added, packaged into a single-use foil sachet or small bottle, and priced between $8 and $22 per application. I measured the citric acid content in a standard descaler sachet against the powder form available in the baking aisle. A standard single-use descaler sachet contains approximately 5 to 8 grams of active citric acid compound. A 500-gram bag of food grade citric acid from the baking aisle costs between $3 and $6, depending on the retailer. That bag contains between 60 and 100 equivalent doses of the same active ingredient. The safety data sheets confirm this. The ingredient panels confirm this. The suppression of citric acid as a standalone household maintenance ingredient did not require any dramatic industry action. No announcement, no regulatory intervention, no visible coordinated campaign. What happened was quieter and more commercially durable than any of that. The post-war cleaning product industry spent the 1950s and 60s constructing consumer associations between specific branded products and specific household problems. Kettle scale became a kettle descaler problem, solved only by a kettle descaler product. Showerhead buildup became a bathroom spray problem. Tile grout mineral deposits became a grout cleaner problem. Each problem got its own product. Each product was used, depleted, and repurchased. This is the recurring purchase model that the synthetic cleaning industry built its entire revenue structure around during the same period. A single bag of white powder costing $4 that addresses every calcium problem in the home across 12 months does not participate in that model. There is no recurring purchase, no brand differentiation, no per unit margin to support a television advertising budget. So citric acid became a baking ingredient in the consumer mind. And the household chemistry tradition that made it a standard maintenance tool for Victorian laundries, industrial boiler rooms, and everyday home upkeep across more than a century became invisible to the next two generations of consumers. The average household with hard water spends between $60 and $100 per year on branded descaling and limescale products across kettles, showers, dishwashers, taps, and bathroom fixtures. That same household could address every single one of those applications for under $5 per year using the compound those products already contain. The arithmetic has not changed in over a century. The marketing around it has. Here's exactly what to do with this knowledge starting this week. Purchase food grade citric acid powder from the baking section of any grocery store or bulk food supplier. A 500-gram bag costs $3 to $6 and will supply the average household with 12 to 18 months of regular use across every application I'm about to describe. For a kettle with visible white mineral scale on the element and interior walls, fill the kettle to its standard capacity with water and dissolve 1 tablespoon of citric acid powder per liter of water. Bring the solution to a full boil. Switch off the kettle and allow the citric acid solution to sit in contact with the scale for 15 to 20 minutes after boiling. The scale will dissolve into the solution during this contact period without any scrubbing. Pour the solution out and rinse the interior twice with clean water before the next use. For a showerhead that has lost water pressure from mineral deposits blocking the spray nozzles, remove the head from the arm and submerge it in a container of hot water with 2 tablespoons of citric acid dissolved per liter. Leave it fully submerged for 30 minutes. The calcium blockages clear from the nozzle holes completely without any physical scrubbing or further disassembly. For bathroom tiles, chrome fixtures, taps, and sink basins with white mineral streaking or buildup, dissolve 1 tablespoon of citric acid in 1 cup of warm water and apply to the affected surfaces with a cloth or in a spray bottle. Allow 10 minutes of contact time. Wipe clean with a damp cloth. For dishwashers showing white mineral film on interior surfaces or on glassware coming out of wash cycles, run a single empty cycle on the hottest setting available with half a cup of citric acid powder placed directly in the bottom of the drum. 1 cycle descales the heating element, spray arms, door gasket, and interior walls simultaneously. Running this maintenance cycle once a month prevents the calcium accumulation on the heating element that eventually causes the machine to underperform and require professional servicing. I want to make the energy argument specifically because it is one that most households have never encountered. A calcified kettle heating element draws more electricity to reach boiling temperature because the mineral deposit insulates the element from the water it is trying to heat. Research into household appliance efficiency has confirmed that a heavily scaled heating element uses up to 30% more electricity per boil than a clean element of the same wattage. For a household that boils a kettle 3 or 4 times a day, that inefficiency accumulates across a year into a measurable addition to the electricity bill. A monthly descale cycle, using 1 tablespoon of citric acid, costs approximately 2 cents in materials. The scale buildup this prevents represents a real energy cost that the cleaning product industry has no financial interest in calculating for you, because the solution to that calculation is a bag from the baking aisle. I want to close by returning to something I found in the Victorian records that I keep thinking about. An 1893 household chemistry guide describes using lemon juice on copper pots and kettles to remove mineral deposits after heating. It describes the same reaction, the same contact time, the same rinse method. The compound in the lemon juice is citric acid. The compound listed as the active ingredient in the branded descaler you last used is citric acid. The reaction with calcium carbonate is chemically identical across 130 years. One version of that reaction costs a fraction of a cent per application and is available in a bag on the shelf of every grocery store. The other version costs between $8 and $22 per use and is designed to run out. The chemistry does not care which container it arrived in. The calcium in your kettle does not distinguish between a molecule from a branded sachet and one that dissolved from a spoonful of powder you measured yourself. It responds the same way every time because the chemistry has not changed. What changed is what the cleaning industry needed you to believe. And the next vault connects to this one from a different direction, a different surface, a different compound. The same pattern of naturally occurring chemistry being repositioned as a specialty product, available only through branded purchase. Subscribe and stay with us, because what comes next is heavier than what you just heard.